Welcome to Politics, Law, and Life. They say that justice is elusive and sometimes hard to find. Well, we're a family of lawyers, and seeking justice is not just our family's calling, it's our family's passion. I'm Lonnie Johnson. Along with my wife and family, we're exposing how politics, law, and everyday life intersect. We bring perspectives informed by politics, sharpened by the law, and refined by our individual life experiences. So join us in the discussion, Politics, Law, and Life, where every story finds its verdict. Welcome to Politics, Law, and Life, where every story finds its verdict. We're the Johnsons. My name is Lonnie Johnson.
I'm Antoine.
I'm Tiara.
I'm Tiara.
And I'm Antoine.
And Jean.
Today we're going to talk about the law. Particularly we're going to talk about the law of open carry. You know, you hear people, they have a permit to carry their weapon. People are applying. I think some now you don't necessarily have to have a license
In Texas.
In some states. And so we're going to explore the ins, outs, the good and bad about this whole idea of open carry. I will tell you my perspective from the beginning. I hated it to start with. And the main reason I hated it was because every time a black man was killed by a police officer, the officer said, "I fear for my life." And my thing was, if you fear for your life and I didn't have a gun, if I got a gun, you definitely gonna say you fear for your life. So that was always my problem with it. I don't carry. If you gonna do something to me, God gonna protect me. That's what I'm counting on. Because I ain't carrying no weapon so that he can say I fear for my life and kill me. You're gonna find another reason to kill me. All right, what do y'all want to think about it?
Okay, so when open carry first became an issue, basically what it says was Texas no longer requires you to have a license to carry a handgun. If you were of legal age, then you were able to carry your gun openly. What happened was they didn't give you the rules that went with that, meaning that if it's not in a holster, you will go to jail because now it becomes an unlawful carry. If you have it in the car and a police officer stops you, if they ask you, do you have a gun in the car, and you say yes, now they're able to search your car for officer safety. They're allowed to clear the weapon. And I knew it was going to be bad because when you do that, what it did was take things that would normally be a traffic violation, a normal moving violation, and open up to people to a host of other arrests. Because normally when you would only be able to give me a traffic ticket and send me on my way, because of me having a weapon in the car, now they have the right to search, which means that if they go in the car and they find some weed, you're going to jail. If they find any type of drugs, you're going to jail. If they find anything that can lead to criminal activity or linking you to another crime, you're going to jail. So, and it's not just within cars. Even now walking down the street, if you have it in your pocket and you don't have it in the holster, now they can search you. If you have something on your body that you shouldn't, now you're going to jail. So drug arrest rise, all the other arrests, including gun charges, went up through the roof because of the fact that police now give it access to search you. Now, it's one of them situations in which you know who carries guns for the most part. And if you give them a right to go and carry those guns, now it just gives you an extra way to search them and it peels back a layer of protection that they had as far as civil rights and subjects them to arrest more. So that's my issue with it.
Yeah, the thing that Lonnie said earlier that, as far as the open carry, the thing in Texas, maybe some rules, but all over the country, what people don't think about with that open carry rule is just by virtue of having that gun and you're involved in a crime or you're stopped and something goes wrong, the first thing they say is they had a gun. Once you say that, then people think that they're bad, they were up to no good. Even though you have a license to carry, it's okay. You didn't do anything wrong, but it's that perception. So that's one of those, when I think about it, I think about all money ain't good money when you talk about, because always carrying a gun is not always the best thing in everybody's interest because it opens you up for so much.
No, I would say different on that though.
Yeah, that's because y'all believe
that's
those
me
guns.
as I'm just saying the law for everybody, but as me, I always got it on me. This is Texas. Like, end of the day, like, I'm not about to just be one thing I will not be as a victim. And you in a situation where I'm not going to not have a weapon when I know someone else has theirs. If you're going to sit there and somebody going to run up on your window, you got road rage issues, they can try to run up in your house. I believe in protecting and serving. I'm going to make sure that me and my people always
It's a trade-off. Yes, you can have it, but be mindful that if something goes wrong, bottom line, the perception is you did something bad just by virtue of you legally having that gun.
I'd rather be dealing with perception after I had to use it than need it and not have it.
A lot of people are in jail for life based on perception only. They didn't do
And a lot of people in the coffin because they didn't have the ability
Yeah,
to
that's
protect them.
why I talk about the
A
trade-off.
lot of people in the coffin because the officer said he had a gun, and the boy in Minnesota that had the gun, his wife, his girlfriend, and his kid in the back seat, and the officer saw the gun and shot him.
I understand.
50
I'm
times.
just saying. I mean, every man got to take their own calculated risk. Mine is I'd rather be caught with it than without it.
Well, that's a risk. That's what
Well,
the
stop
podcast
it.
about. At least anybody to have it. This is going to allow them to make an informed decision to know that you can have it, but these are the trade-off for carrying that gun. And if you're willing, if you're okay to accept the consequences, that's you.
But I think you also got to take in consideration, just play the odds of it. What are the odds of you being shot by an officer versus the odds of you being robbed in the street? What are the odds of a police
been
officer
robbed
hitting
ever.
you versus somebody trying to run up to your house?
You are.
If you play the statistics, yeah.
They ran up in your house. I forgot they ran up in your house.
I didn't have
While you was in the
I didn't have a
bathtub.
gun, and I'm sitting there.
They
right?
taking your
They
life.
didn't come in the house.
There you go. There you
Came in the house in Omaha, they
No, they came in the house. We weren't there.
I was in the bathtub.
That's what matter about
No,
Omaha.
but she didn't come in the house.
They took the VCR. Yeah, and the DVD. The VHS. You talking about when they said they had was using
We got our own house robbed multiple times, and y'all tell me talking about I'm gonna put my trust in the Lord to protect me.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. How many times have any of us ever been shot with somebody coming in our house?
I ain't been shot by him. I'm not gonna give him a chance to just drop him.
And anytime anybody came in our house, well, they came in, yes, they come in and robbed our house when we were in Omaha. But every time they came inside the house, we were not there.
But she was in the bathtub at that.
He came to the screen. You saw the
He
screen.
opened
You get up.
it. He opened it.
He didn't
He
come in the
didn't
house.
get. He didn't come. He
But
came
Mama-
into the den there.
But let's just think about that. Like, he could have been somebody else. If you could have been raped, you could have been. Things could have happened to you.
It could have.
So why wouldn't we have guns,
He didn't
though?
have the gun. If even if he did where I was at, the gun would have been hidden where the gun would have been hidden.
And you can
I
still
had
get
to
to it.
run and get the gun. I ain't nowhere in the world.
And
I
Mama,
would
you
have
be
got to
surprised.
that gun.
You can't get to the gun.
I'm a gun person. I got a gun, and I made some choices.
I got a gun. I ain't using it, but I got it.
Mine is. I got
If I had my
safe.
choice, we wouldn't have a gun anywhere in the house.
Oh no, no. I'm gonna have my gun. I made some choices when I had these kids. You come in my house, I believe in buying black dresses and sitting on the front row to make sure I really got you and you still dead.
I'm not a big open carry fan
I'd rather sneak you.
because I want you to be surprised. I
Yeah.
carry all the time, but I'm gonna carry concealed.
Yeah.
You don't need to know that I'm carrying.
This is my thing. I don't care. I don't think that we should just open carry just because I feel like it creates the wild, wild west type of environment. Aesthetically, why? Like, why? But
You already in the
but I don't like the idea, like the whole conformist. Like, you tell us not to conform, but then you say, well, because you're black, you shouldn't be able to. You shouldn't open carry because there's these consequences that come with open
I think
carry.
that's just how you acknowledge the elevator risk.
That's not what I said.
That's how I acknowledge the elevator
What
risk.
I said was that if you do, you gotta know what you're trading off to carry that gun. The consequences of having having the gun. I'm not saying not, but I want them to know that if I do, if I'm stopped, I'm gonna get searched. If I have something that I don't supposed to have, chances are I'm going to jail. Where if I didn't have that gun and I could say no, there's no gun in the car, I'm gonna keep driving on, hopefully, on my merry way.
Let's talk about one of the other consequences because this is what I see most of the time. You'll have people who smoke. If you smoke weed, you can't open carry, or you can't carry concealed, or you catching the case. Because if there's drugs in the car, even there's a little bit of weed and a gun, that's concealed. You still going to jail. That's unlawful carrying. If there's any type of drug, it could be a little roach in your car, and a gun, that's concealed.
If you're doing something illegal, DWI. If you get
DWI, and you got a gun in your car.
It's
It's unlawful
So,
carry.
let me ask you a question, and this is what I don't know. If an officer comes up and asks you, do you have a gun in your car, and you say no, and you actually have one, what happens?
It depends on if they find this is what.
But I'm saying if they don't have the right to search,
But this is why I wanted to define it because ideally, it's done. you say you don't have a gun and there's no weapons, there's no drugs, they send you about your way. But that's not what happens. What they say is there's a strong odor of marijuana. Because that's something that you can't quantify, and they're gonna run in your car anyway. So if you tell them no, I smell weed, and now they're gonna search your car, and if you find the gun, you're in trouble.
And again, I don't know very little about criminal law. If they say I smell weed, can you say, okay, can you get a dog out here, or is their nose enough to allow them?
Their nose is enough.
Their nose is enough.
Their nose is enough. Now, some judges will work with you because I've had cases with that. Well, I won that on PC just by saying, look, end of the day, it's legal to smoke.
PC?
Probable cause. So probable cause hearing after, but that's after the arrest has already been made. Albeit. But I've had judges. The argument that I always made was, hey, all right, CBD, smoking CBD is legal, and it's 100% illegal to smoke CBD and hemp products. It smells just like weed. So the only way to be able to tell whether this is CBD or weed is to violate my rights and search it anyway. So there's nothing to say that I wasn't doing something perfectly legal by smoking this CBD that smells like weed. So in that station, your nose shouldn't be enough. I had judges that were roof with me and dismissed the cases on no PC because of that, and other ones that wouldn't.
Yeah, but it goes back to what the point you just made.
You already arrested.
There you go. There you go.
No, I understand that, but at the end of the day, like when it comes to safety and having your weapon on you, I don't think that's something that's negotiable.
And what about the idea that you have? And I'm sorry, Anto. Go ahead.
If you have a concealed carry permit and the officer comes to you have to tell them that you have a gun.
But that's
the license actually hurts you, yeah.
Okay.
But that's the thing. That's why people don't. But now you don't have to have this concealed the permit. And the benefit of getting the permit is you got to go through the classes, and then you know that you can't take your gun in 51% restaurant. There's so many places that you can't take your gun.
That's what I was going to go to.
You can't take your gun, and you don't know that because you haven't had the formal education that you get when you have a CHL. CHL. I want to say CDL, CHL. You don't have it. You don't get that education, so you don't know, and you're putting yourself in a situation where you catch unlawful carrying.
Well, let me point that out now. We're talking education. Okay, so what she meant by 51% rule. There's a rule. You'll see places when you go to bars and clubs and stuff, it'll be a sign that says 51 in the window. If it says 51 in the window, that means that they get more than half of their sales from alcohol. And for that reason, you're not allowed to bring a gun in there. Even if it's open carry, you can't take a gun anywhere where you see a 51 in the window. And also private business under, I think it's code 33, they can opt to not allow you to bring guns into their business. They put up a sign that says no weapons allowed, and even open carry, you're not allowed to take it in those places or it's a crime. So just
churches, hospitals.
Yeah, there are certain places where you're not allowed to take it in
courthouses.
Federal buildings.
What about
offices?
What about if I put a note at my front door that says no guns allowed? Would that work?
No.
I know it won't. I looked it up for the game. Bottom line, it has no. So if you put in a note that says no guns, know that they can ignore you, and it's nothing you can do about it because it's not against.
If it's in your house,
in your house,
your private house. Yeah.
But if you come to my private house, I don't have to tell you no gun. Bring it. I'm gonna gun you down because you shouldn't have brought it in here. Bring it.
You're gonna invite somebody to your party, and they got a gun in their purse, and you gonna gun them down
at the door that they can't come in with their gun on.
But you ain't gonna gun them down. Are you gonna gun them down?
And not for what I'm saying is that if you come in the home, typically you're going to respect my space. I'm not going to let you in. Exactly.
No, I'm saying if they're invited in and they have a gun,
you're rescinding their invitation if you don't want them to come.
Again, one of my big issues is the lack of education about these things. Like most people don't understand that if you take your gun, although you might lawfully be able to carry your gun, you can't carry it on a federal building. You can't carry it on federal property.
That means airports. That means hospitals. Post offices. I don't know about hospitals. I think hospitals mean
federal property. Like you can go to a federal cemetery, the Veteran Memorial Cemetery, with your gun. And people, education is always the key, because we tell people this stuff and we don't tell them the extent of their crime, and they go in thinking they can just do anything. I got a license to carry, and
that's the thing. They don't have a license because it's not required. I'm talking about Texas. You don't have to have a license, but because you don't have a license, you don't have the education that comes along with the license, and that's how you walk yourself.
And did you have somebody that didn't have a holster?
Yeah, I got no idea. He went to the gas station. He was there with his girlfriend, and they were just getting snacks and stuff. And they're standing in line, and you see it on the police's body cam videos. They run in, they came like 5 deep, slammed him on his head. And he's like, man, what did I do wrong? They're like, man, you got a gun on you. He's like, well, it's open carry. Like, well, it's not in a holster. it was in his pocket. He had some little Jordan shorts on. He had the gun just in his pocket. But because it wasn't in the holster, he went to jail. Then once they get him in the cop car, they Terry Fricks, they patting him down before they put him in. He got a little bag of weed in his pocket. So he thought that he was just going to the store with his girl to get some munchies and end up going to jail because he had his pistol in his pocket and he had some weed in his pocket. So, you got to be careful with these laws because if you don't follow the rules, they're not going to tell you what the rules are. You go out there and you just walking through life with a pistol in your pocket, then you out of there if they catch you.
Another trap.
Exactly. It was definitely a trap. But most people fall into it.
So that's Texas gun law. Well, and gun law in general. And I think we focus more on Texas. But if you're not in Texas, make sure you understand the law in your jurisdiction. Make sure you know all the limitations associated with carrying a weapon. It's one thing to say, oh yeah, I can carry a weapon. With rights come responsibilities. And you have a responsibility yourself to know what the rules are associated with you exercising every right that you have so that you don't end up in a bad situation. Again, thank you for joining us. No, I'm sorry.
But the only thing I would say, make sure safety for people that have guns in their house. I know it's regulated, but every day it seems like, or at least once a week, you hear where a kid or somebody got a gun, they took it to school, what have you. So and you can get charged. You can go to jail for that if you don't put them in a safe place. So I don't want to.
It's not just a safe place.
What was that?
Now, if it's not just a safe place, like if your safe place is up and the kid has access to it, you can be charged with a child endangerment. If your kid takes the weapon to school and harms somebody, you can be charged with that also. Like, you need to make sure that if you have a gun, you need to have it not just in what you perceive as a safe place. You need to have a safe, or you need to have somewhere that the kid has absolutely no access to. You also need to make sure that if you have your password for everything else under the sun, don't have it be the same, because if they know the password and they have access,
It's just good as
they
handing
can
it to
say
them.
that your conduct was negligent, and you can be ending up looking, because of your behavior, at the same type charges. So, no, you need a safe. It needs to be in a spot that they don't have access to. And if you do have kids that you are exposing to guns, you need to make sure that these kids are actually going out and actually being trained on not only the guns, but gun safety. I know some people take their kids to hunt and they know we're on hunting rifles. That's cute. But your kid needs to know all the gun safety rules, because some of those things can be perceived as negligent. And if you're negligent and your negligent conduct results in somebody else's loss of life, you're looking at those charges. So it's not just enough to have it in a safe place. And I know that some people think, oh, I had it hidden in my closet. That means nothing. You need to have it somewhere where you can say they had no access to this.
Yeah, when I got the gun, I got the safe where it's my fingerprint. I just touch it and it opens. And I think that I don't even have a combination for it, because I didn't want a combination, simply because the grandkids, if one of them came over and something happened, I would be in a straitjacket. And so I think you do have to take some extra precautions for that. I know at the end of the day, I hope that this podcast, we've said something to somebody that made you think about the law.
Or you can just take the approach of not having a gun.
Nobody doing
I'm
that.
just- I'm just saying.
that.
You on your own with that, sir?
It's worked for me for 66 years. And I'm going to tell you.
You better find some wood to knock on.
No, I ain't got to
No,
find no wood. I ain't got to find no wood.
Mama, like, I got one. Don't even worry about it.
I
Say, come on if you coming.
My gun-toting son made sure I had one. Ready at
I
that.
know we're getting close to wrap up. Let me tell you about this story, the study they did. That was after the, I think it was Virginia Tech massacre back in, this has been some years ago. They were considering passing a bill in what state was I in? I think it was Louisiana. I don't know, some state, no, Alabama, passing a bill to let students, college students, carry guns.
No.
And on campus, because they said nothing is better to fight a gun than having another gun. And I mean, think about it. There are a lot of places around the country where that's their answer is having more guns. Well, they did a study, and they did an experiment. They told people that have been trained in guns, that were familiar with guns. I think it was like 5 or 6 of them. They said sometime during this class period, someone's gonna come in here with a gun. It's an experiment, and your job is to protect your fellow students. Every single one of them got killed before they got their gun out.
They lacking it.
And,
I'm sorry.
no, because it still surprises you, although you know it's coming. So when you don't know it's coming, when you're in your house, just think. Let's say you got a 2,000 square foot house. Your gun is somewhere. The chance of you being able to get to that gun and get it open, get it unlocked from its case.
I gotta disagree.
I know you got so many guns. You got guns in every room.
Have you ever had somebody run up in your house, put a blanket on your head, and be ready to kill you, and you just sitting there hoping you don't die?
No, I don't deal with people like
and being
that.
able to get to your gun is what gets you out that situation.
I don't deal with
so that's what I'm trying to tell you. Like what you saying is just not flawed if you're not making that situation.
I think some things is depending on your lifestyle. And that's what you have to consider.
And I'm not gonna say the lifestyle was right, but I will say they came in the house, everybody was tied up, they put blankets over their head, and we just sitting there like, man, if I don't get to my gun, it's done. It's this done.
I don't carry guns outside the house. I don't carry a gun outside the house, but I know that if somebody comes in my house in the middle of the night and they make it up those stairs, it's me and the kids and Antoine. Like, we got a gun. Because if you come in and make it up those stairs, I got to make some choices to make. And I chose those kids before I chose you.
Well,
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
You're going to be
Again.
open back.
Again, as I said many, many times before, there are many times when we have these discussions that they're right. They agree with me and they're
Every
right.
time I talk, that's how
Other
it is.
times they don't agree with me and they're just wrong. But we're going to try and work on them, get them to come around to the right position, and at some point we might get this done.
And we about to buy him a gun for
Thank
New
you
Year's.
for joining us on another episode of Politics, Law, and Life, where every story finds its verdict.